Hello, kindergarten. Welcome back to my home. And welcome back to my library. I'm just so happy that you've chosen to have story time with me again today. Well, I've been thinking we are so lucky that we live in Florida because we have a whole Gulf of Mexico right in our own backyards. And in that Gulf of Mexico, there are all kinds of wonderful and fabulous ocean creatures. I know for a fact that there are many of my kindergarten students that are very interested in fish. So today, I chose a fish story. Sit back and get comfortable because today we're going to read the story called Big Al. The author is Andrew Clements and the illustrator is named Yoshi. You're going to love this story, I promise. Big Al. Here's our title page. Written by Andrew Clements, illustrated by Yoshi. In the wide blue sea, there was a very friendly fish. His name was Big Al. You could not find a nicer fish. But Big Al was also very, very scary. Other fish seemed to have at least one friend, and some had many friends. But Big Al had none. He did not really blame the other fish. How could he expect little fish to trust a great big fish with eyes and skin and teeth like his? So Big Al was lonely and cried big salty tears in the big salty sea. But Big Al really wanted friends, so he worked at it. First, he tried wrapping himself up with seaweed. He thought it was a great disguise, but no one else did. Who wants to stop and talk to a floating plant with teeth? Then he thought if he puffed himself up around, the other fish would laugh and see how clever and silly he could be. All they saw was how big he could be, and they steered clear. Very early one morning, Big Al went down to the bottom, and he flopped and wiggled himself into the sand until he was almost all covered up. He looked much smaller then. When the other fish came near, Big Al talked and joked with them and had a delightful time. But then one scratchy little grain of sand got stuck in his gills, and he sneezed. Achoo! When the clouds of sand cleared away, all the other fish were gone. Big Al even changed his color one day so he could look like he belonged to a school of tiny fish passing by. He bubbled along with them for a while, laughing and feeling like he was just one of the crowd. But he was so big and clumsy that when all the tiny fish started to the left and then quickly back to the right, Big Al just plowed straight ahead. He went bumping and thumping right into the little fish. And before he could even say, "Excuse me," they were gone. And he was all alone again, sadder than ever. Just when Big Al was starting to be sure that he would never have a friend, something happened. He was floating along sadly, watching some of the smaller fish and wishing they would come closer. And as he watched, a net dropped down silently from above. And in an instant, they were all caught. Big Al forgot all about being lonely, and he forgot all about being sad. His eyes bulged out bigger and rounder than ever, and with a mighty flip of his tail, he opened his mouth and charged straight at the net. The net was strong, but Big Al was stronger. He ripped right through it, and all the little fish rushed out through the hole. But when Big Al tried to turn around and go out of the hole, he got all tangled up in the net. He was stuck. The net went higher and higher toward the bright surface of the sea, and all the little fish watched as Big Al disappeared above them. When the little fish were able to speak again, all they could talk about was that huge, wonderful fish that had saved them. How great it was to be free, but what a shame that that big fellow had been captured. Just then, there was a tremendous crashing splash above them, and all the small fish dashed away. Was it the net again? Not at all. It was Big Al. The fisherman took one look at him and threw him back in the ocean. And now there is one huge, puffy, scary, fierce-looking fish in the sea who has more friends than anyone else. Do you know who it is? You're right. It's Big Al. The end. Well, kindergarten, you know what I love about books, besides they're really fun to read, is that they make me curious about things. So I got a little bit curious after I read about Big Al, and I wondered, is there really a very big, scary, ugly-looking fish like Big Al in the ocean? And turns out there is. Big Al is called a hairy frogfish. Isn't that a funny name for a fish? Let me see if I can show you a picture of what a real hairy frogfish looks like. Would you like to see it? I think I can pull one up here on my iPad. Yep. There you go. Does that look like Big Al? It does, doesn't it? That's a hairy frogfish. And you know what I think? In our whole big, beautiful Gulf of Mexico, I love dolphins and I love whales, but I think my new favorite fish might be the hairy frogfish. What about you? Do you think you might like that fish too? Well, kindergarten, I had a wonderful time reading stories with you again today. And so, until we read again, have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.